It's a challenge for every watch collector to have a perfect 5-piece collection. But the way I see it, it's a marathon. It's a journey. It's a long journey. It's not a sprint. So you don't go overnight and purchase a watch collection. Well, I've seen people do it actually, but they are never happy with their watches. So these are the watches, some of the watches that are in my collection. Some of them are core collection, and I will tell you some of the watches that left my collection ever since the last update. And also you can see down there are lots of other watches. I will also show you which stuck around enough so I can consider them part of my collection. However, it is truly challenging for every watch collector, any types of budget, to come up with a perfect 5-piece collection, even more 4-piece collection. I used to have a 3-piece collection, then a 4-piece, now 5, and many other watches elsewhere. But let me just go from left to right. So first of all, I have a Mega Moon watch. I absolutely adore the Moon watch. It's just a great piece, icon, and I know the word icon in the watch world is being thrown around like it's nothing, but Mega Moon watch Speedmaster Professional true is an icon. I put it on, I do have a bracelet, but I put it on a Stripesco leather band, and I think Moon watch looks better on the bracelet, on straps, and it's just a strap monster. It's a Hazellite crystal, solid case back, a non-sapphire, nothing of that nature. So truest to the quote-unquote original. This is of course not a 321 Moon, it's 1861, but I still enjoy it. I enjoy the Hazellite crystal and the vintage appeal it has, and it's just a gorgeous piece. I love it so much. Next piece in the collection is my Rolex Datejust. This is my first Rolex. It's a vintage one it's actually my birth year Rolex, and it's Hazellite crystal, engine turn bezel, Roman numerals, everything I like. Super comfortable on the wrist, and it has a special meaning, not only because it's my first watch, but I got married wearing this one, and many milestones in life, so I will always have this one. And next to it, there's my Reverso Grand Date. This is a 8-day power reserve, a Reverso Grand Date, double barrel movement, because you have to achieve all that power reserve. You need to have two barrels, and it's just one of those watches that whoever sees it just says, wow, that's a beautiful watch, and you truly need to see it in person to truly appreciate it. And also it's very neat and very cool because the first time I saw this watch was at the Archie Luxuries show, and he has one, he wears one, and when I saw it I said, that's a beautiful piece. I love the complications and everything, but it's not overly complicated. It's just not a normal regular reversal, it's just a bit step above average. I was actually looking at the dual face because I like that one as well. So you never know, maybe one day, like I said, for me personally, watch collecting is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's something you do. It's something you do in your spare time. It's something you enjoy, and something that fulfills you, and it's something that becomes part of your life. And watches are, chances are, if you're watching this, watches are part of your life as well. So one next watch here, and that's become part of my life ever since I learned about watches. I wanted to have a Submariner, Moon watch, and Calatrava. I still do not have a Calatrava, but I do have a substitute, and this is a Submariner. It's 16610. This is a ceramic version, 40 mils. I used to have 16610, which was the pre-ceramic Submariner, and I upgraded it to a ceramic one. Why? Because of the practicality, and I think the ceramic one is just a better made watch overall. One of the biggest downsides is the bracelet on the ceramic one, and it has its charm. It's charming on the wrist. I love how it wears and everything, but you pretty much get used to the new modern practicality of the watch, and I do consider the Submariner modern day everyday watch that can cover all the bases, so that's why I went after it. And no point for me to waiting for the pre-ceramic one becomes vintage. Right now it's neo vintage and it becomes vintage and whatnot. I just like to have a reliable everyday watch that I can wear, and I put so many scratches on it, and I don't even care. So the latest watch I have is the Navy Timer, and the Navy Timer, I love Breitling. My first luxury watch was a Breitling, and I'm a big chronomat guy. I like chronomats, and I also like Super Oceans. But if you say a Navy Timer, if you say Breitling, most of the people think about Navy Timer because it's the iconic watch. And this is 46 mils, but I do have a larger wrist now, and it works on my wrist. It's not as comfy as the 36 Datejust, but I have a broad diapason. I have watches from 36 to 46, but I actually have a 34. And speaking of small watches, I sold my Piaget, which was 33 mil. My wrist got bigger. It was too small for me to wear. It kind of looked ridiculous. But even though I didn't wear it that much, I kind of enjoy it and wore it and had it in my collection because you want to have a Piaget in your collection. And fortunately, I had to sell it for personal reasons. And I also sold IWC and Breitling. And later on, I added the Navy Timer as a something consolation prize or something else. Not really sure is this long-term keeper because it has 46 and I do enjoy wearing it. However, sometimes it gets in the way, but it doesn't really matter. I still love it. I think it's a great watch. This is a GMT version. It has a GMT, and for that reason it's not B01, it's a ETA based, because they don't do complications, added on complications B01. It was purchase was this year. Purchase date was this year, so it's a modern contemporary Breitling. It's just not a B01. So yeah, this is my like a core collection of watches, and now next to it, I want to show you some other pieces that I have in my collection. And first of those pieces is the Casio data bank, and it's always great fun when I change a battery in this one, and it shows the production date of this watch. And the production date of this watch is in 1985. And it's a great fun. I put some photos on Instagram so you can check it out, but it's really cool. Even today, Data Bank is a cool watch, but I think the vintage one from the 80s is even cooler. And it's actually very comfy on the wrist. Has this semi-integrated bracelet, specific case shape. It hugs your wrist very nicely, and I actually do wear this a lot and enjoy it. You would be surprised, but you can, if you sometimes you will run into me and I will be having this on my wrist because it's convenient. Sometimes you need to run out of the house in a minute. You don't have the time to set the time on your watches, and nothing else matters, but I think this is a really cool piece, and I will keep it in my collection. It's kind of my trademark. This is the watch that started all this nonsense collecting and everything. One day I got this from my dad, and this watch inspired me to learn about watches, to explore, to learn, and I fell into the rabbit hole, and this is the result today. Speaking of Seiko, next piece in my collection is the Orange Monster. The Orange Monster, for me, it's legendary. I know SKX is much more popular nowadays, but I can tell you this: I owned many SKX 007s, 009s, but I always keep coming back to this one, and this is a super cool, especially summer fun watch, and I like wearing this to the beach, to the seaside, to the city. I found one thing that this does not work in the winter as well as on the summer, and this specific shade of orange kind of looks different on the sun and on the shade, and it all mixes up. And I have it on this super engineer bracelet, which is awesome. And yeah, this is a first generation Seiko Monster, Seiko Orange Monster. I think this is one of the icons. And some will say this is an ugly watch, but I like it because it's ugly and because it's orange and it's quirky. It just works. I love this piece. It's a first generation, so it has 7S62, but this is one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites is the Seiko. Another Seiko. This is a Seiko Panda chronograph automatic. First automatic chronograph alongside with Zenith Primero and Hoyer, and this is vintage one, and it's a gift from someone who's very dear to me, and I will always keep this as a token and appreciation of our friendship. And it's a very cool and valuable watch as well. Okay, speaking of cool watches and valuable watches, I know Navi Timer is cool as well, but you can get some cool watches on the budget, so if you can shop around. And if you know me, if you've been following my channel, you know I like vintage Omegas and always recommend them as bargain. And lately prices have been starting to creep up, and they are not more bargains like they used to be, but I think that there's still some good deals out there. There's some values. In fact, recently I got another vintage Omega, this one, and this is Omega Genève. And when I saw these Breguet numerals, I just had to have it. I love the dial, love the Breguet numerals, love the steel case, and it's just great. This is like the Omega to get. With the vintage Omega to get, it's a constellation. This is not a pipeline, but it's the next best thing. It does not only have the pipeline dial, everything else is the same. I love the lugs on this one, and this is gold capped bezel and the lugs, and the rest of the watch is steel except for this token. This is solid gold. And this is a 34 mil watch, but I do enjoy it wearing equally as my 46 Navi Timer. So great watch. And the funny thing is, the Omega constellations, vintage ones, are very popular, but Omega up until today is making constellation line as well, and they are not that well regarded, especially here on YouTube among the watch forums. Everyone wants the Seamasters and Speedmasters, but I think the modern ones are also nice, but the vintage ones is where it's at. Speaking of vintage watches, I have one more to show you, and this is my Longines vintage manual wound watch in pristine condition, stainless steel case, great dial, and I like to call this one Longines Calatrava because it's just simple, elegant, and represents the Patek Calatrava I hope to get one day, because I always wanted to have a Speedmaster, Submariner, and Calatrava That was my like a holy trinity of watches when I first learned what automatic watch is. That's pretty much it. I have some other watches. I have here Citizen Pro Master. That it's a great watch. It's a great beater. I love this piece. It's very cool. I wear it on this Vario strap, and it's my like going to the mountains watch, doing something outdoorsy, going out there in the field. Like someone says, hey, you don't have a field watch. Well, this is my field watch. Plus, it's a diver, and that means it's waterproof. So, yeah, I think also it's cool because Italian Navy are using it or used it. I'm not really sure about that, but that's what I heard on one of DGV's videos or something like that. So, yeah, I have some other watches here and there. I have, for example, I have a Formula One Tech Wear quartz piece, which I keep. Sometimes you need to leave the house in a hurry, you are late, you're doing things, and you just don't have time to muck around with mechanical watches, to fiddle with them, to set the correct time, to set the date. That's why I don't. That's why I like no date watches, and I just does this one on my wrist, and I'll be out of here. There's also a bracelet for this one, but I just have this Tech Spear rubber, and it's kind of left over from summer. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. I'm EDC Gunner, and do tell me in the comment section, write me what do you think about my collection and what's in your collections and what are your collection goals. My collection goal is to I love Piaget, man. I'm so sad that I had to sell it, that I sold it, and I didn't really have to sell it. I had the money for it, but now I'm a father, and usually I'm the type of guy who easily steps out of his comfort zone. But having a responsibility means that you need to have some sort of a cushion, and you cannot step out of the comfort zone so easily. Not for my sake, but for your family's sake. And we all do love watches, we all do enjoy watches, but never lose sight of what's really important, and that is certainly your family.